Well, we've found the rest of the lions that were making the noise. We've actually seen a second male, but he's walking off, and we found 2 females. I'm not exactly sure which females these are. Most likely they are from the Salt Lake Pride, and those are the females that the boys have been hanging out with. You can just see the one boy disappearing. Now, there were 2 of them. We're not sure where the second is. We think he's ahead. They've kept to the rocks, a little bit to the right, I think, of those. He disappeared. There he is. Back to the left a little bit. There he is. Where are you off to now? But a good morning. I think I even forgot to introduce myself this morning. I've been following these lions for quite some time. My name is Brent Smith, but goodbye for now because I have Veerman on camera, but we're sending you further north in the Mara to something quite special.
Good morning and welcome live to the hyena den. Even if there is a vehicle in the background, it is a beautiful, beautiful morning in the Masai Mara. And we have a truly fascinating situation about to play out. We're here with Waffles, Queen of North Clan, at her natal den. And instead of introducing her cubs to the rest of the clan appears to have come to her. So at the back, that was Tip running in this direction. Her son Fergus is here. There's lots of displays of dominance, tails bristling. Her son is the one at the back sniffing her at the moment. That's Fergus. He is at present her oldest boy in North Clan. So he's come to see his new brothers and sisters, I assume. So remember, Waffles has got tiny, tiny cubs at this den site. This is awesome. What a wonderful way to start off our morning. Elephants, golden sunlight, and hyenas all gathered. Good morning, my name is Jamie, and this is live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. Now, as we will have revealed, or recently revealed, Waffles actually has 2 cubs, not just 1. And there is a 3rd one belonging to a different mother called Polar Bear. I'm hoping with all of this drama, they're going to bring the cubs out and we can actually see them meet the rest of the clan. Look at this. Hyenas bouncing in from all directions. If I had to guess, I would say in the next few months we're going to see lots and lots of new cubs. Little Tip has interestingly been displaying some really fascinating behavior. She looks really, really dominant as she goes, oh, not anymore. Scared of getting bitten. Yes. Remember how I told you about Tip's propensity to whoop whenever she gets into trouble? She overstepped her boundary there by going into the tunnel. Her natural curiosity almost got her into trouble. And that whooping sound that she's making with her little baby voice is her way of saying, hey, I'm part of your clan, please don't bite me. Tip, you're being naughty this morning. What's got you so worked up? There's something in the air with North Clan this morning. We're going to stick with them and find out what it is. However, it is a good time to be a scavenger in the Masai Mara. Let's go see what Taylor's found.
Well, Jamie, not only is there something going on with your hyenas, but we are sitting here on a zebra carcass with 2 jackals who are not very impressed with all the vultures that are around. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Archie. Remember, this is a live and interactive show, so we look forward to answering all of your questions. But shall we have another look? This is really, really fascinating behavior. Now, it's something that we don't get to see all the time. I can say that I've only seen perhaps fights with jackals and vultures over carcasses a handful of times. Although, I wish I could see it more often. Now, the jackal are not the ones that brought down the zebra. The zebra was actually found yesterday. Half of it was devoured, we're not sure by what, possibly lions, because whatever had eaten it had eaten the hindquarters. But jackals, like the vultures, are exceptionally good at scavenging. So just a moment ago there was a hyena who has now eaten its full and has moved on, which has of course left the jackals to now move on and devour as much of the carcass as they possibly can. Although I don't really think these two jackals are going to put too much of a dent, so the vultures will just have to be a little bit patient before their bellies are full, and then they can move on in too. But listen to the dinosaur noises that the vultures of course make. Oh, good. I'm glad you're all really excited to see jackals. I know there's a few of you out there who have been watching for quite some time who, well, I suppose have the jackals as their favorite animals. So this is just for you today. And these are black-backed jackal, well, my favorite species of jackal out here in the Mara Triangle. I'm so happy that we got to witness all of this. But I think it's going to go on for quite some time. See, look, everybody's making a closer move now. The birds are now hopping in. See, as soon as those jackals stick their heads in, those vultures start creeping on closer. Now we just need to wait for the jackal's patience to wear thin before they chase it again. Pisces, yes, I suppose, but this is the migration though. The wildebeest, the zebra, the topee, the Thompson's gazelle, they all do take a knocking, but there's plenty of them around here. And what we must remember is that it's all natural. This zebra, unfortunately, just wasn't strong enough. I don't know if it was ill. I don't actually know what was wrong with it, but we found it, of course, dead and half eaten. So this is also prime territory of the Olololo pride, so they could definitely be around here too. And now, with all the vultures gathering like this, it's going to cause quite a scene, and those lions might come back on in. Aegis, I'm waiting for that moment exactly, for the vultures to just go, okay, we've had enough of your nonsense, jackals, and then, well, basically chase them off. And vultures are incredibly big animals. There's also a marabou stork. I don't know if you saw it over there, just to the left. And together they could quite easily chase the jackals away. But jackals are interesting creatures. They're kind of like hyenas. They don't give up. They just, they'll carry on and keep trying to push the vultures away. They won't be here very long though, and I think that the vultures know that. I've actually once watched a cheetah. It just killed a big impala ram, and I think about 30 vultures swooped on down and actually chased the cheetah away. And the cheetah didn't even get to eat a mouthful of the impala. So I thought that was quite fascinating. So Aegis, yes, you're quite right. Vultures can indeed, in great numbers, which they normally are, can push any predator, not quite any predator, but the smaller predators, right off. Now, we just got a couple of vehicles moving into the sighting. So sorry, Kirsty, I didn't quite hear what you said, but off you go to someone else somewhere in Africa.
Hello, everybody. I'm afraid I've managed to lose our little leopard. He was hunting through these thickets, and they are thick. That's why they're called thickets, and there's a very grey dawn that's sort of broken here in South Africa. We're going to keep looking for Hosanna the male leopard and see if we can't get very lucky, but it is very difficult to keep up with him when he's hunting through here. Also, he doesn't walk in a straight line, which means that he's all over the place. Ivy, yes, Hosanna has been at the dam. He was at the dam yesterday. He left there yesterday, came wandering down here, and thankfully for the TV show, we managed to find him with the drone, because Tristan and I were having no luck with the old school driving around, but the thermal drone managed to pick him up, which was fantastic. I wonder if he hasn't managed to snaffle himself something very small in here, perhaps. And like I say, they don't move in straight lines, so when they're hunting, you can't kind of go round to get them coming out on a straight line. With their marking territory you can, but of course in his case marking territory is not going to happen just yet. He is a youngster, only 2.5 years old, hunting through these thickets here. This is where we last had him. He was last walking through here, and then he went phew, and disappeared, which of course is what leopards do, really. That's kind of what they're designed for, disappearing. Ugh. So he's either gone back down towards the riverbed, or he's headed up south, at least up towards the east there, I think. But I'm afraid at this stage it's very difficult to tell. Anyway, we'll keep searching while we go back up to the Masai Mara, where Jamie Patterson is with her favourite clan of hyenas, the very captivating and charismatic North Clan.
James, I hope you find Hosanna. We are being kept thoroughly entertained by the antics of our spotted hyena. Tip is... she's really worked up. She's completely lost her mind. And she is just provoking the adults here. Polar Bear, I think it's Polar Bear, is lying at the entrance to the den with her new cub, the second mother of North Clan. And Tip is just desperately trying to... She can't decide if she's excited or not. What is going on, Tip? You're going to get yourself such a smack. Ferg now coming in to investigate. Are we done now? No. Tip is really coming out of her shell all of a sudden, which is wonderful to see because she's been so withdrawn. Proud cat mama, hyenas laugh, that spotted hyena giggle that makes them so famous, is in fact an indication not of age but of social status. They giggle like that when they're nervous. It's basically a way of indicating that they are submissive. So when you watch, if you watch who giggles in these scenarios, like for example with Tip, that dear, you asked for that. You really, really did. There are brand new cubs in here. No wonder, maybe that's how you got yourself into trouble in the first place. Being managed by the adults in the clan. Oh, I apologize. Apparently you can't actually hear the full extent of the vocalizations, which is unfortunate, but I hope you can hear at least some of it. It's just a function of, well, some various tech gremlins. So I apologize for that because the sounds are always highly entertaining. Tip, if I were you, yes, that was probably the most sensible approach. Very easy to recognize her. Those of you who've been watching for a while, you'll see she's got that tear around her left ear. I think it's time you go back home, madam. Back to the big cub's den. You are going to get yourself seriously bitten. Michael, yes, absolutely. Hyenas do recognize siblings as part of their family. They have a very strong nepotistic streak. In other words, they favor their family above all others. They'll step up to defend siblings, or obviously they'll step up to defend offspring, but they will step up to defend siblings. It's all part and parcel of the hierarchy that they inherit. So yes, they do recognize siblings. Tip, as far as I can tell, from what I can recognize, is not related to any of the hyena here. I don't know what she thinks she's doing. She's come to investigate, and she's going to get herself into trouble if she's not careful. Oh, back away, reverse, retreat. I can't quite work out who the other hyena is. Gets a little bit tricky in a situation like this. While we wait for it to all play out and for Tip to learn her place, let's go and rejoin Brent, not too far from here, with a male lion.
Well, we've caught up with the boys, and it is the two young males of the Sausage Tree Pride. No sign of the big boy Kapuli, but the sun has disappeared into that big cloud bank behind them. We can just see that lovely pinkish glow. But they are sitting in an ideal spot for the day because there is water here, and just ahead of them, up along this hill, is a massive herd of wildebeest that are probably going to come down for a drink. They're already slowly moving in this direction. So we never know what's going to happen. And what we're going to do is we're going to reposition a little bit and see if we can see if there are any wildebeest a little bit closer. We're sitting quite low at the moment. Hey boys, aren't you happy chappies? There's just wildebeest everywhere for you. Hi, Michelle. Michelle says, I wish they had all for the birders. It looks like a rufous-bellied heron. That's quite a rare one in southern Africa. We do have quite a few breeding pairs here. I've never seen them this far into the grasslands. Well, and there goes a acrid ibis as well. So, oh, sorry, Vam. Michelle wishes they had a bit more of a mane. Michelle, they're still growing. In a year or two's time, they will have a massive mane. It's already incredible how big their mane is compared to where we first started seeing them last year. So there we go. You can see there's already some wildebeest that we couldn't see from lower getting a bit closer down here. Moo, 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 moo. Lots and lots of noise. Now we're going to sit here and wait to see if instinct takes over, and as those wildebeest get closer, our young male lions decide it's time for a morning snack. In the meantime, let's go across Taylor and those entertaining little jackals.
So we have not left the scene just yet of the zebra carcass because it is getting entertaining. Now, look how brave the vultures are getting. Between the rupels and the white-backed, they are the biggest of the species that are here at the moment. Look at that tail of that jackal. Swishing it from side to side. You can see how it's also fluffed itself up, raising its hackles, very upset. But the vultures have grown tired of the jackal's antics and is now deciding to fight back. Listen to the sounds. This is amazing. Look at it. What a determined jackal. And they must be one of the most underrated carnivores out here. Although, I suppose they're actually omnivores. Because jackals are capable of also eating fruit and things like that in times of desperation. Look at that. Completely surrounded by those vultures. This is so epic. Kendall, yes. At some point, jackals were descendants of dogs. But if I'm not mistaken, Brent was saying something the other day about jackals being sort of the oldest dog that's been around in comparison to even wolves, which was quite interesting to hear. I must do some more research on that. So they've been around for a very, 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 very long time. And they haven't needed to change. They're perfect just the way that they are. They're small enough that they don't really pose a threat to something like a leopard and a lion, but they're also big enough that they can hunt hares and birds and, of course, scavenge on the carcasses. But look at the frustration in that jackal's face. You can only eat so much, jackal. Your belly's already bursting. You can see, but it is not giving up. And at this time of the year, it's fairly easy for something like a jackal because there are so many carcasses around. Now, Carol, no, the vultures won't kill the jackal. If there was a dead jackal around, they might eat it. But vultures aren't very good at hunting, and that's because of their big stubby toes that prevents them. So there's some species of vulture that are able to hunt small prey. However, majority of the populations and species of vultures actually rely on carrion, so carcasses, whether it be an animal that died of natural causes, or perhaps, taken down by a predator of sorts. They'll scavenge on those carcasses. And they're well equipped too, the vultures. They play a vital role out here in the ecosystem, because a lot of the smaller birds of prey that will also scavenge on carcasses don't have big, strong, robust bills like the vultures do, which allows them to tear right through that tough hide. Look at that big Rupel's vulture, very unhappy also. Now they'll fight amongst themselves, as you can see too. This is absolutely amazing. I really do like the small interactions like this. Go, jackal. Beautiful creatures as well. And vulture looks like it's looking straight at us, but of course it's not. Probably just keeping an eye out. And you'll see they'll stop every now and then and have a little look around to make sure that there aren't any predators, making a move. Now, you will hear some vehicles starting up. You might also hear some camera shutters, because there are lots of people who are very excited to witness all of this. But off you go back to James and to see what he's got.
We're following a herd of baboons here, hoping that the baboons might see the leopard and then start going bahu, bahu, which is what they do when they see a leopard. It's actually very pleasant to watch baboons foraging through a forest like this. I think I did say a herd of baboons. Yes, it is a herd of baboons, in case anyone didn't know. It's not a troop of baboons. Now, that's old language. It's now called a herd of baboons, in case anyone is confused. That's not really true. I did make a mistake. It is a troop of baboons, of Chakma baboons, and they're greatly entertaining to watch. In fact, there's some doing some rather amusing acrobatics on the trees around us. Those two will almost certainly do something silly fairly soon. And we've just been watching a big male having his favours solicited by a number of females, and he was just completely disinterested, so he was watching the floor. And what's really nice here is that they are completely relaxed around us, and so they're getting on with their foraging. They'll be climbing up into the trees looking for bits of fruit. There isn't a lot in fruit at the moment, so they'll be looking for insects and that sort of thing as well. And they'll be looking forward to the fruiting season. Of course, although it is quite chilly today and overcast, looks a bit dull, we are heading towards spring at quite a nice speed. You can hear some screaming youngsters. Oh, I mean, that sounds blue murder, isn't it? That's often youngsters or teenagers who are being set upon by males who are lower down in the hierarchy, and it's kind of deferred aggression. They get beaten up on by big chaps you're looking at there, and then they go and take out their aggression on smaller ones, and that's often where that screaming comes from. This is a troop in relative peace, though. I have to tell you, the smell surrounding me is not quite as attractive as the scene. The baboons are obviously roosted around here last night, and, well, their bowels don't cease as they sleep. Let me just say that to you. And that sound is exactly what you think it is. That is two baboons becoming better acquainted with each other in the biblical sense. Let's continue. Anna Marie, baboons are omnivorous, so they eat quite a lot of meat if they can. They'll catch baby impala. They nearly caught little duiker here actually earlier. And so monkeys are generally, while they will eat insects, they're generally herbivorous. So the difference would be the amount of meat that they eat. Otherwise, they have very similar digestion to each other. They have longer guts than us, which means that they are designed more for herbivory than we are. So they've got more space in the gut, longer intestines for herbaceous plants to be digested. This is a wonderful baboon sighting. Righty, let's go from a herd of baboons all the way across to a pod of vultures which is swimming in the grass seas of the Masai Mara.
It's funny you say that, James. Yesterday I called a herd of lions, which was hilarious. We all get confused every now and then. So, jackal has moved off, couldn't bear the annoying vultures anymore, so ran off with its tail between its legs. But now, this is where the carnage really starts. Now, if you thought a pride of 16 lions could devour a zebra or a wildebeest carcass within a short time, you've never ever seen vultures tackle a carcass then. They're completely decimated within only a matter of minutes. This is, of course, depending on how many vultures are around. And I think there's not that many. There must be about 15 or 16 of them. And then, of course, the one big marabou stork, maybe a few more, maybe up to 20 vultures all just here. But they're just more and more that keep coming on in. And then, of course, one of the most incredible ways to view the Maras from an air balloon. Tweet history, and something that we've actually noticed out here is you can see all the vultures are actually coming on in now. They're flying from everywhere. One of the most incredible things that we see is that the vulture population becomes quite less when the migration is not here in Kenya. And they're very clever birds. They just sort of follow the migration. And why wouldn't you? Because there's going to be food around all the time. I was saying just the other day that they'll go all the way down south when the wildebeest give birth. And well, I suppose it's really amazing. But let's have a look at what's really exciting and what's really going on with the animals. So they do typically move in groups. You can also see them all on their own. But at a carcass, you'll very rarely just see one vulture. They normally try and follow one another. Aha! I was waiting. Watch how these vultures now scatter as this hyena comes charging on in. Not taking any chances like they were with the jackal. Look at that incredible strength. That was a fully grown zebra. I know that there was a hyena that was eating on it before, and the vultures have eaten quite a bit, and so has the jackal. But the fact that it is able to drag that carcass with ease just goes to show how powerful these animals are. Now, unfortunately, as you've probably heard from Jamie, hyenas have been portrayed in Africa as the villains. But they really, really are amazing animals, and they're well capable of hunting themselves. So this is just an opportunity. Why wouldn't you take a free meal? Because you never know when your next one is going to be, and that's what all the animals will do out here. There's even a lot of the raptors, a lot of the birds of prey, right down to the smaller carnivores. They essentially are all opportunistic and will feed on any carcasses that are around. And like I was just saying before, this time of the year, it's a time of plenty for the predators, or anybody that likes to feast on meat, because there's just an abundance of it. And the migration is really only just getting going now. It's pretty amazing to see how many thousands of wildebeest have started coming in. And they are late, but nevertheless they are finally starting to arrive. Yes, hyena. This is not the same hyena that we saw earlier. That one walked away with its belly scraping on the ground. It was so full. Excuse me. Goodness, if you had any doubt in your mind that this was a live safari, well, here's the proof. Allergies in the morning. Anyways, it seems as though there's lots of action going on, and Tristan has found himself a pair of lions.
Indeed, we have. We have found an evoker male that doesn't seem very happy about us being here and close to his female, and what looks like possibly a Talamati lioness. She's a very skinny lioness. We were tracking the Nkahuma pride all the way to this area, and then we came across these two that have been sitting on the fire break. Now, we're not going to have them for long because they're about to go northwards, but it was a very cool track. You can see he's very full-bellied, but she, on the other hand, looks as though she could do with a meal. Now, he's not impressed that we are close to his female, and we'll just let him pass by. Now, it's an interesting kind of take and on this. I'm surprised he's so aggressive about it. As you can see, it's a young male that is obviously mating for one of the first times. Now, you see on the flare, look at how dark his mane is in comparison to his body. His body is hot, 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 but his mane is very cool, and that's because of how much it's insulating that head area. Now, I'm interested to see where these guys go and where they're off to. The interesting part is that we definitely had more lions coming in this direction. We had tracks for at least 3 individuals that were coming
going this way, and so I'm interested to know where they've gone in comparison to these guys. I also almost forgot to introduce myself. My name is Tristan. On camera I've got David this morning, which is always good. Now they are heading straight north. It looks like they're going to go into Buffelshoek, which means we're not going to see too much more of them, but let's just get one last view as they coast their way northwards through a clearing. I'm hoping she'll lie down. If she lies down, he'll lie down. She's the key, because as much as she moves, he will move. She is basically dragging him everywhere he goes. Now you can see his scent marking there. Now I don't know where the rest of the Avoca boys are. There should be obviously 3 of them, but there's just this one that we can see at the moment. I wonder if the rest are maybe not somewhere far off. Right, while we watch these 2 and see what they get up to, let's send you back all the way across to the Masai Mara and to Jamie, who is probably in her element as she spends time with the North Clan.
The action is still unfolding, or the drama, I suppose, would be a better way of phrasing it, at North Clan's natal den, which I think is basically going to turn into the new communal den. What we have here is Polar Bear, I think, sitting in the den. There's a cub, there's a cub. Hello. Good morning. Out you come. Out you come. And then I think, I'm not 100% sure, I'd have to check, but I think this is Polar Bear's younger sister. So I think we have a family reunion here. And she's actually come to say hello and meet a new niece. I wonder how many cubs Polar Bear has. I've absolutely no idea. I've learned not to make any assumptions whatsoever. So if this is Polar Bear's younger sister, then the mother of this cub, then I would say that she does not pose any kind of a threat at all. We also have another little visitor, Polar Bear's younger brother, with absolute certainty. Sloth Bear has just arrived. He's the little fuzzball sitting next to his best friend Tip, who fortunately has calmed down and stopped causing chaos. Sloth Bear and Tip, while not related, are best friends, and up until relatively recently, Sloth Bear was easily the cutest hyena of North Clan. He has now been usurped with the number of new cubs popping out from every single den hole that we see. He's still very cute though, and very fluffy. So he is the mother's youngest brother. Chitty Chatty Meg, yes, I've always loved hyenas. Chitty Chatty Meg is wondering if I've always loved hyenas before spending so much time with this clan. I loved them from pretty much from when I was very little, actually. I've always loved spotted hyenas. There's just something about them that fascinates me. And they've always been my favorite predator. I think I even mentioned that way back when, probably about 3 years ago on a drive. So yes, I've always loved hyenas. In previous jobs, I've spent a lot of time identifying them, photographing them, putting together their clan hierarchies in different contexts. But this is the most in-depth I have ever gone into a full clan dynamic. Absolutely. Very rare to have the opportunity to spend as many hours with them as we do. Let's see if the little one comes out. Polar Bear looking intently off in the direction that Waffles went. Waffles is gone. She's abandoned us. I'm going to go find her in a little bit, I think, if things calm down. The elephants that were threatening to walk straight through the den site have moved away entirely. Now, since everything has calmed down here, let's go back to the deceased zebra to see what those hyenas are up to.
Well, here's a vulture we haven't seen just yet. Well, it was, I suppose, the thunder was stolen by the bigger vultures, but that is a hooded vulture. Now, it's very funny looking. Look how long and sharp its beak is in comparison to the others, which are quite robust. So, even at a carcass, seeing as though we've been talking about vultures, there's even a hierarchy here. Remember how I said to you how vultures are incredible and how they are able to actually tear through the tough hide? It's not all the vultures. It's the rupels, the white-backed, the leopard-faced, the white-headed, and then the hooded, shame. It comes in last in the feeding frenzy, so that's the rupels just there. So what needs to happen is often it's the hooded vultures and some eagles like battalier eagles and tawny eagles that are first to arrive at a scene. But then sometimes they have to wait. They might have to wait a matter of minutes or sometimes even hours for someone that's bigger and stronger and can tear open that carcass. What's just happened? Hyena? What have you just seen? That was interesting. See how it completely backed up? I don't know if it's maybe spotted a predator. They've got much better eyesight than I could. I'm trying to scan around now, just having a little look. The only thing I do see is balloons. I don't think a balloon would frighten a hyena, especially at such a distance. We'll keep an eye out. And I suppose one single hyena like this on its own, it needs to be careful. Because if the Olololo pride were to come charging in here, it's going to have to get out very, very quickly. There's about 16 of them in that pride, and they won't take too fondly to this hyena feasting on a carcass that they could be eating. Because yes, even lions will scavenge. They're actually some of the biggest culprits when it comes to scavenging. Still just looking around. Maybe it heard something and was reacting to a sound or a scent. Daniel, you said the hooded vulture looked like it had human ears. Where is that hooded vulture? Let's have another look. I can't actually see it now. It's there somewhere. It's just a little bit hidden at the moment. But I suppose they don't... There it is. Sorry, I was having a scan around to see if I could spot it. It does kind of look like it has human ears, except it doesn't have any, well, I suppose the external part of the ears. It's just a little opening. Oh, there's two. Beautiful. Well, sorry, I think beautiful might be a strong word to describe a vulture, but anyways, there are lots of them around here. It is nice to see such a variety of vultures. I was hoping we would see the elusive white-headed vulture or, perhaps even the lappet-faced vulture, which is the largest of them all. They're really, really impressive, and they do rule the roost when it comes to a carcass. But sadly, none around. You are quite lucky if you get to see those two species of vultures, but the ones that we're looking at now, or the three species that we're looking at, are, well, quite common out here. And then the marabou stork, who's just sort of waiting its turn. If I was as big as a marabou stork and I hadn't had breakfast yet, I would have marched on over there and really thrown my weight around. But they eat a variety of different things. When there's no carcasses or carrion around for them to feed on, I've seen them eating fish on the ground. I've seen them eating big armor-plated crickets. They will eat a variety of different things. So they don't discriminate in what they feast upon. Anything is good. And they're not a very attractive bird. So, seeing as though we're out here, these two species of animals that we've got, actually three. We've got 3 out of the ugly 5 now, which is amazing. So we've got the vulture, the marabou stork, and the hyena. If they were feasting on a wildebeest, that would have made 4, and maybe a warthog would have popped on out, and that would complete the ugly 5. But anyways, it seems as though Brent has found a lioness who's having a bit of a snooze.
Well, we're sitting here. The lions have gone to sleep, but slowly but surely, the migration herds are moving closer. There we go. There's some zebra. Look like they're leading the charge down to the water. And they're quite close behind this mound. Now, I haven't seen the lions yet, but the lions are lying out in the open quite conspicuously. But with these big herds, there can often be panic. And that obviously works to the predator's advantage. Haven't even noticed yet. Now, the females we saw a bit earlier are still down below us somewhere, but these males are in a perfect position because as the day goes on and it warms up, more and more animals are going to head towards this water hole. I think the zebra, with its sharp eyes, may have spotted the lions, but is going to continue to drink. Now, when zebra and wildebeest drink, they can be quite nervous. They get a lot of frights and make a lot of noise. So maybe that'll wake up our lazing boys. here come the wildebeest now as well. So the zebra have made the first move down to the water's edge, and now the wildebeest and zebra are coming. So we're going to position ourselves to try be in the best spot possible. While we do that, let's go say good morning to Stivovo.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our side of the show. My name is Steve. I'm joined by Fergus on camera, and it is a cool and blustery morning in the Sabi Sands. And we're hoping we're going to be able to find you anything at the moment. It has been quiet for the moment, but we're moving along a route where we think we might get either Tundi and Kalamba, the beautiful leopardess with her cub, moving through, or the Duke of Juma. Who knows where they are. We were with the drone earlier up in the sky, assisted James in finding Hosanna, staying with them a few times, saw some really interesting hunts as well from there. Well, unsuccessful, but fantastic to be able to get that sort of bird's eye view. So we're going to head back towards sort of the watering hole. Hopefully Tundi and her beautiful daughter have probably moved back into that area, but in the meantime it seems like Tristan has found two big male lions we don't see very often.
Indeed, we've got a second one that has now joined the honeymoon couple and is settled down over there. Now, this is one of the evokers that I saw actually on Sunday. Was the individual? This is the individual I saw on Sunday, and so they have been moving around quite a bit. And I'm 90% sure it is the evoker coalition, or 99% sure, should I say, that it is the evokers. There's the darker maned one, and then this lighter maned individual here. Now, the other two have gone off behind a thicket on the right-hand side here, which makes it very difficult to actually see them. He walked up and he got growled at, much like what we did, and that explains why that male was so kind of tentative and so aggressive towards our approach, is that there is another male around, and what a male lion hates more than anything else when he's mating is another male, especially one of his coalition members. He doesn't enjoy it at all because he wants to try and mate with that female and spread his genes, and obviously if he's got his companion with him, it dilutes the system, and that female then might theoretically prefer him and go away to the other male, and so that's why he'll have a lot more pent-up aggression. It explains why, also with the tracks that we were following, that there was, because I thought there was more than two in the whole tracking process that we were doing. In fact, I think there's actually was between 3 and 4 would be my guess. So we've got 3 now, and I wonder if the third male isn't also somewhere around and going to make an appearance at some point. It also would explain why they've been so quiet. When males are mating like this, well, they don't really want to attract too much attention to themselves and make their brothers or their coalition partners start moving in and kind of taking over from them, so they're generally quite quiet. Yes, Carol, there are actually more than 3 evokers, but not in the same coalition. So you've got 3 evokers in this coalition, which were born effectively into the same mother, as far as I understand it. And then there's 2 older evoker males that were also in the pride at the same time. Now, the 2 others have gone down into the south of the Sabi Sands, and they have settled down there around Kirkman's, Lion Sands, into the Kruger Park area. And then these 3 up here. Now, they were at one point in time all part of a pride together, and they grew up together. But the 2 left before these 3, and they went much further afield than what these 3 have done. And it's probably because the 2 came across the Birmingham Pride in this area at that stage, and then Majingalans, and that kind of got them to the south point where they are now. And so there actually is 5 evoker males in total, which is very confusing because both coalitions are called the exact same thing, but there are 2 in the south and then 3 up at the top here that haven't actually ever spent time together as a coalition. They were just as cubs and then separated out. But you can see that male is going to have a bit of a sleep and take it very easy. I wonder where the other 2 are. I'm going to try and see if I can find a gap where we can see the other 2. And so while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor McCurdy, who is witnessing the carnage of the migration firsthand.
Well, we haven't left because we're just so amazed with this entire scene. And hyena hasn't thrown its weight around anymore. It's just sort of enjoying breakfast peacefully now and seems to have relaxed. Not so stressed about anything around it. It actually hasn't very often lifted its head up as it did earlier. Wish you could hear the crunching sounds. But it's a little bit too far away, I think. I think the dawn chorus will overpower the sound of that hyena trying to crunch through into that zebra. Got great manners, though. This hyena is actually eating very nicely. Normally when these animals tuck into carcasses, they'll end up completely covered in feces and blood and all sorts of things. And that's because there's no such thing as table manners out here. There's no knives and forks. You just eat as much as you can, as quickly as you can, because you don't know how long you're going to be able to feed on that carcass for. Still smelling around though. She's just checking the other side. It's good to look around when you're in a situation like this. Like I said, those birds would have definitely, could possibly, lure other predators into the scene. And that's what we're sitting here hoping for. And birds have taken a back seat now. Some of them have managed to get a couple of beakfuls of flesh and are satisfied with that. And will probably try again once that hyena moves off. They'll go straight on in it. And there isn't very much of that zebra just left. There's a lot of skin, but they've eaten the complete hindquarters, they've eaten around the neck, and now they're sort of just eating on the sides and around the legs of the zebra. Every time that hyena moves that carcass, you can see the skin and how sort of floppy it is. It's because there's nothing left on the inside. Now finding it much easier to pull it around though. Now speaking of hyenas, the queen of the hyenas is not too far away from me, and I'm not talking about Waffles.
Lots and lots of hyenas. Possibly not as lucky as that particular hyena that found the zebra carcass. So things have relatively calmed down here at the den. I don't know if I would call myself the queen. I think that title well and truly goes to Waffles and her royal family over here. As that one disappears down into the grass, I think we've got another cub here. Not another small cub. I mean, we definitely have another cub here. And I'm pretty certain it's one of Waffles' great-grandchildren, or great-granddaughters. So the one on the left of that hyena's head, that's Waffles there. And the one on the left there, I think is one of her great-granddaughters, either Lobster or Chow. It is so fluffy and covered with mud that I actually can't tell which one it is. But it's been fascinating to watch because she is a very high-ranked hyena, and she's actually been asserting her dominance over Polar Bear in the den, which is interesting. Dash, you want to know how old Tip is compared to the others. Tip was born in October 2017, which would make nearly 11 months now. 10 months old. Whereas little Sloth Bear is probably only about... Sloth Bear's down here, unfortunately. Little Sloth Bear is only about... How old is he now? When did we see him? He must be 6 months old now? Yeah, around about 6 months old. And then the new cubs, new cubs we just had a brief glimpse of hidden behind the grass over there. They would be... The older one, I think, is about a month old, Polar Bear's cub, and Waffles' cubs are 3 weeks old. Almost exactly today. I think we know exactly when she gave birth. I know when she disappeared. I know she was heavily pregnant when she disappeared. So I think that they were born on a Friday night 3 weeks ago. She doesn't want to bring them out today, though. Something's got them on alert. They keep looking up, listening in that direction. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's upset her. I might even go and check the other communal den. I think it's safe to say that this is becoming the communal den. Puma, funny you should ask that question. We spoke about this not so long ago. Have I ever seen a lion dig out a hyena cub? No, I haven't, but I have seen a male lion sneak up on a den site and actually kill 2 cubs. So they really, particularly with male lions, they really take offense to hyenas, and if they can catch them, they will kill them. I know it does happen, though, and I have seen footage of lions trying to dig for hyena cubs. Most of the time they're unsuccessful because the cubs actually excavate themselves a little burrow and little shelves that they can fit into, and lions are not really built for digging, so they usually don't get the cubs out. Now this whole den site will be a network of tunnels, so cubs can actually move from one entrance to another. Gives them multiple escape options. Who are you? I really can't tell. This hyena's got so fluffy. Pretty sure it's one of the royal family, though. One of Soup's daughters. She definitely has all the attitude of a high-ranked hyena. Hopefully the male lions stay far away from this den site. Speaking of hyena's worst enemy, let's go and see them with Brent.
Well, these male lions are certainly very far away from the den. And you can see they're a little bit more awake, and they've tried to flatten themselves as much as possible. And they're not in the best spot to lay in ambush, but so far that hasn't mattered, because a new group of wildebeest and zebra have moved down, and it looks like they've completely forgotten that the others were snorting at lions a little bit earlier, and they are heading towards exactly where the lions are. Now, what the lions really want in this situation is for some wildebeest to just have a moment and start running around and chasing each other, which is quite common, because it might lead them straight into the waiting jaws and claws of these big cats. Now, I think we're still a little bit away from that happening. How far? Probably 50 or 60 meters between the closest zebra and the two boys. And they are very conspicuous there on top of that mound. Let's have a quick look down the valley, see if we can see the females again. They were way down there. She's assumed they're them. Towards those two termite mounds. A little bit to the left. Around there somewhere is where we last saw the females. They could probably just flat. There's a bit of long grass around there. Okay, let's just keep an eye on these zebra now. They're still moving towards the lions, but I don't think these boys are going to have any success unless there's a wildebeest that does something crazy. Although the zebra are currently almost heading straight towards them. Roche, indeed, this is part of the Mara Triangle, and a lot of people call it black cotton soil. There's lots of different types of black cotton soil, which people get quite confused about, but this is quite sticky after the rain, and it's mostly because it's volcanic ash. Oh, have you been spotted? Silly boy. Silly boys. There's one zebra that's... no, it's decided it hasn't spotted them. It's carried on walking down. Be truthful. Yes, indeed. There has been a fire. You can see that black there, which is already starting to get green flush after the nice bit of rain we had last night and a couple of days ago. This fire came through from Tanzania and burnt the southeastern sections of the triangle. Now I see, that's what we need. You see this wildebeest streaming in now. If those boys just keep stock still, although I think they've been spotted by a zebra. There's one zebra that's giving them, well, that area the evil eye. But if they don't move, the zebra might not continue to focus attention there. So most of the animal's eyes here are designed to look for movement rather than the shapes. So they will only really react when there is movement. And at the moment, these boys are not moving a muscle. I think what they might succeed in doing is scaring all the zebra and wildebeest just now. They really should have chosen a better spot to lie up. Well, we're going to sit here and wait to see what happens next. Hopefully the zebras don't spot the boys, but if anything changes, we'll be right back.
Well, very exciting stuff with Brent. And if anybody's patient enough to sit and wait, it's of course Brenty. Now, we've also been very patient this morning, but for completely different reasons. I'm just enjoying watching this hyena feast upon the zebra carcass. It's still no lions, no leopards, no other predators moving in onto the scene. Perhaps it'll be this hyena's day that it'll be able to finish its breakfast in peace, and then of course leave the remains to the vultures. I was hoping that we were going to see some interesting eagles around. There's been a couple of long-crested eagles and tawny eagles and battaliers hanging around, but they all moved off before I could even show you. But perhaps it's just too much competition for them here at this carcass, which would make a lot of sense. There you go. But soon this hyena is actually going to have to use its powerful jaws. I think it's actually just starting now. Like I said earlier, there's not much meat left on the zebra. But that doesn't mean anything for a hyena. They actually thrive at being able to crush through the bones and sort of tap into that bone marrow, which is so high in fat. And that'll do this hyena all the good. I haven't been able to really see if it's a male or female hyena, as it's obviously quite difficult, the way that it's covered with grass. And this clan of hyenas I'm not too familiar with either. We see them every now and then, but I haven't found their den site. I actually think that this group of hyenas is denning in a valley just behind us, because every night we hear the whooping sounds, and sometimes when we go on hikes we see a lot of hyenas just up. Maybe we can actually show them where those dark green trees are in the middle of the valley. That's where I think that they are denning. And of course it's virtually impossible to go in there with a vehicle to be able to see what's actually going on in there, but you do hear a lot of echoing. So maybe one day we just need to take a stroll and see what's actually happening. Now, of course, we've all been waiting for Brent's lions to creep on closer towards those zebra and wildebeest. Let's go back and see if they make a hunt.
Well, hopefully they don't creep or move a muscle. I think their only strategy they might get some success here is if the wildebeest actually go stand on them, because they're not going to move. If they move, they will get spotted. Now, there are some wildebeest moving down towards them as well as the zebra. Now, wildebeest seem to be a little bit less observant than zebra, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I don't think they're going to be able to catch anything. I think they will get spotted eventually as the animals get closer. But you never know when it comes to being alive out in the African bush. We might all be completely surprised. And just to let you know, there is a car coming. And we are on one of the main roads. Well, Justin, it's our absolute pleasure. See, there we go. Something spooked the wildies. And this is where the lions might be able to take advantage. But I think for now, they are all going to be safe. I think the lions are just in too conspicuous a spot. But remember to join us in a few short hours for the Sunset Safari, because you never know what might happen out here in the African bush. So from all of us here at SafariLive, it's been splendid having you in both Kenya and South Africa. And from the two sausage tree boys, who are so full they might not even do anything if the wildebeest come too close to them. Goodbye, good night, see you soon.